Sunday afternoon. Have you ever had one of those weekends where nothing's going right? Yep, that'd be this weekend for me. Yeah, I did a whole video yesterday. It took me hours. I was doing one of the videos I promised for y'all and went through every one of my cars and did a walk around, talked about value, what I got in them, so kind of familiarize you guys with, you know, what I've got into these cars and how cheaply you can get into cars similar. But what happened is right at the very end, I was actually videoing the finish, the last, you know, part where I tell you guys please subscribe and all that good stuff. The battery died. And since I was outside in my trailer doing the video, I couldn't just plug it in and keep on going like I do when I'm in the shop. So I went and got another battery. I popped the new battery in and start filming. And the camera said something on it like not formatted. So it's got a little button you push to format it. So I pushed the button, hit formats, everything's good. I finished the video. I go to download it, and guess what? No video. The only video there was that finish screen. That was it. Evidently when I formatted, it erased everything that I had filmed previously. So there's about 4 hours of work, which would turn down to out to about 35 minutes of video time. You guys don't realize how much it takes to make a 40-minute video, a 30-minute video. It takes hours to just do one video, even though you only see, you know, 30 minutes or whatever. But nonetheless, I hit that and I'm staring at the screen with, you know, that whole what just happened thing going on inside the brain, you know. And then I realized what happened. The only good thing about it is I got a really nice picture, because when I took pictures at first before the video for my thumbnail, you know, and I was having trouble with lighting because it was real bright out. It was early in the morning, it was real bright out, and I kept getting glare on everything. I couldn't get the cars together, I couldn't get no glare. I was having all sorts of trouble getting a decent photo, but at the end of this video, after I changed the battery, I was, you know, able to get all the cars were still kind of sitting out in the yard or out in the shop or out in the driveway. Try that in English, you know. And I stood on the back of my truck. You got a pretty good shot. So when I remake that video, I'll have a really good thumbnail for you. But anyway, that brings me to today. I had a couple of other things. I need to clean the shop, which was my intentions to do today. So that's why I shot that video yesterday. But it's raining right now, and it's worse than the monsoon on Gilligan's Island. I mean, it's raining. So I have to stay in the shop today to do this video, and I wasn't actually going to do the video. I was gonna clean because the shop is a mess. But the good thing about it is you guys will get back acquainted with the Stingray. I know there's a few of you all out there that really dig in this car. I like this car. I've had this car over 20 years, and I love her. She's a great car, but she's developed some engine problems. So that's where we're at with that now. Today's going to be diagnosing, figuring out what's wrong. How's that? I'm going to pull the valve covers. I think I know what's wrong, and I hate to admit it, and maybe I'll be wrong. I'm kind of hoping I'm right, though. Is the problem is me. I did a video. Don't watch that video. On how to adjust the valves. There's really nothing wrong with the video when I adjusted the valves, but I did remember when I did it, I'm like, why are these, they can't possibly be, bleh. Gotta say that in English. I couldn't possibly be that far off on my, you know, they couldn't have backed that far off. I checked the studs, the screw and studs, they didn't back out. But yet I ended up turning the adjustment nut's like halfway down the stud, and that's not normal. And something in my brain went, why are these so far off? Well, here's my theory. I think what I did is the car had been sitting a very long time, like a year or two, you know, where I was pushing it around the shop. The transmission was blown. So I took the transmission out, and she just sat around until I got the transmission back. Then I decided I was going to do a 4-speed swap, and then you can watch that whole thing. But that's like a year or two. You know, I think a total of 5 years she was sitting around doing nothing. I might have started her once or twice, and she ran like turd muffins. I did do, in fact, you can watch that. I did do the Will It Run video on that a few years back, or a year or so back. And she ran okay, and I can't remember, but I just started her the way she was. But then she sat around for a couple more years before I did anything else. And let's get back to the point anyway. I get to wandering. I think what I did is I over-adjusted the valves. I think what had happened from sitting, they're hydraulic lifters, and I think this lifters collapsed. I think the oil pressure just slowly bled out of them, and they were collapsed. So when I checked them, I was actually adjusting the rockers with the lifter on the bottom. So as oil pressure picks up, and that lifter starts to pump up, now my valves are way out of whack. I mean, up to like a ½ inch out of whack. That's how bad. It should have taken just a little tiny bit of adjustment one way or the other, if at all. So I don't really know what possessed me to have my brain leave my body at that period of time. But today, that's the first place I'm going, is under the valve covers. And I'm going to check and see if I indeed am the problem. And I'm almost willing to bet money that I am. It just goes to prove there's no, how do you put it, no po body's nerthic. Make mistakes. And when you're trying to rush through things, I think at that time I was trying to get to some other projects and get those finished. We're starting to finish a lot of projects right now. We get this car back to running. I've got a little bit of body work, as you can tell on this hood. She's not quite finished yet. I've got a little bit of body work to do on this car and some paint work. But aside from that, she's ready. Oh yeah, and I've got the console apart right now because I've got to figure out why the windows won't go up and down. And I think I got that figured out too. Went online. Imagine that. YouTube. Oh, actually, no, it wasn't YouTube. I'm sorry. It was a wire diagram, and I found that there's a little brown wire that's supposed to be connected to the little, you know, thing on the fuse box, right, like almost in the middle. And I took a quick look, and it ain't there. So I'm pretty sure I found the problem. I've just got to find the brown wire now. Yeah, when I put the pedals in, things just got like that, you know, all mixed up. So wiring is just going everywhere because when I put the pedals in, you had to kind of push everything out of the way. It was just, it's a nightmare under that dashboard. No offense, folks, but I love these cars, but trying to push all that wiring out of the way to put an extra pedal in there is an absolute PTSD nightmare. So that being said, let's get started. We're going to pull the valve covers and we're going to see if indeed I am a moron. Yeah, that's basically what it boils down to. And sadly enough, I think I'm probably right. If not, then maybe my engine's really hurt, and then we'll have to dig a little deeper. The next thing to go, if everything looks good on the top end, we're going to have to pull the heads and see if I bent stuff. Yeah. Let's get started. One thing I always do is I try to start with the hard stuff first. And I have one down in this bottom corner over here behind the brake booster that is just an absolute pain in the asteroid to get to. And I've actually put a hex nut in there because you can't get a screwdriver in the right angle on that. And all of these are Phillips head, large Phillips head screws. So that one is a hex head because I have to be able to get a swivel in there, and I have to use a 1/4 inch, get in there with a swivel and get that angle in order to get that. Or I can actually get a small wrench in there. But that one is real humdinger to get at, and it's because of the brake booster. it could be a yes and no. This is a problem. I don't know if you can see that, but push rods are not supposed to look like that. They're supposed to be straight. And this one, she's just hanging out. And here's the thing, that this one's loose. That one's very loose. I can't honestly say that these are out of adjustment in any way, but that one, she come apart. So not exactly catastrophic, but definitely broken. So do I have another big block push rod laying around, or do I order another one? Let's see if there's any more of these that are having issues. This one's loose, so I might take this one out and see if maybe she's developed a problem. I might take them all off and just check them to be safe. That one's on a power stroke, so that's definitely no bueno. Definitely no good. And I'm not sure what caused that. It even bent. Wow. It even tore the guide plate up a little bit. That guide plate's bent, so I'm going to have to take this loose, fix that guide plate, and then figure out why this rocker arm decided to go south on me. Good news is it's not a catastrophic issue. Bad news is I'm going to have to take all these rockers off, check all of the push rods, make sure they're all straight, and then I'll put them back on. Now I do have some roller rockers that I've been considering putting on, and I think I'm missing one or two. So I'm debating whether or not, since I'm going to take all these off anyway, these are the long slot rocker arms they're called. And I'm debating whether or not, because I have poly locks that can go on them too. And I'm debating whether or not if I'm going to do all this, then maybe I'll go ahead and put the rollers on as well. But let's go ahead and check the other side and see if I have any more issues. You can see carnage number 2. So I've got one on each bank that went bad. And what's weird is I remember tightening these down considerably, and none of them, well, maybe one or two are down but they're still fine by the looks of things. And but yet I've had, this one's like super loose. So either I've wiped my cam out, which is a possibility, or I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get this push rod back out of the engine. So we may end up having to take this engine apart to fix it, because we were able to get that push rod out, but I am not even seeing this one. It looks like it's fallen inside the engine. So whether I can get it out or not is going to be another question. Getting my trusty magnet, I can see it. I'm going to see if I can't pull it out with the magnet. Well, I can't pull it to the side, so let's go ahead and hold it there. See if I can't grab it. A pair of pliers. These things have been some of the handiest needle nose pliers I have ever bought. Okay, I've got it with that. Now I don't know if I can, I think probably the best thing to do is kind of do this, line it up with the hole, and then I can pull it out with the magnet. There we go. Oh, that's not good. That's not good at all. Well, catastrophic damage, folks. My guess is I've wiped the cam. Probably my fault, because for years I ran her without putting zinc in the oil, and I think that's probably what did her in. I recently started putting zinc in the oil, but I think maybe I have already done the damage. So rather than going out and ordering some new push rods, I'm going to go ahead and pull the intake. And this car has a lot of room in the front. If I pull the radiator, I'll probably be able to change the camshaft in-house, or meaning in the car. But she's not going anywhere anytime soon. Now, if I was in a hurry, I might throw a push rod in there and try to go ahead and try to run it, but I'm not in a hurry. If I have to, this car is kind of taking up space on this area, this lift here. Worst comes to worst, I can put her on the lift and get her up in the air and get something under it, or if I need to lift, we can push her elsewhere. But I guess we're going to go ahead and tear her down and see just how bad the damage is. Here's something I do all the time. When I pull the distributor out, I'll mark where I had it. It's funny because I've got a mark there previously, a white one. I'm going to put a red one this time. But I just put a mark where the rotor was pointing. That way, if I do not end up putting a cam in this car, this engine, whatever you want to call it, I can put the distributor right back where it is now without moving the engine, and she'll just go right back where she's supposed to go. If I end up putting a cam in it, I'm going to turn the engine over to line things up anyway, so that will be a waste of time. But it's a good practice to get into. So if you want to pull a distributor for a quickie, you need to pop it back in, you know where to put it. We're going to go ahead and get back to getting this intake manifold off and look and see what we got down inside there. can't find the rest of the push rod. That's not good. I'm not seeing, wait a minute, not seeing any really bad cam wear. That lifter looks okay. Not seeing anything. She's running. She's running pretty rich. I can't honestly say what the problem is, because this one looks fine. This is the one that came out. And I'm not seeing any major problems in here. This one's bent for sure, so we're going to go ahead and loosen this one up and take a look-see at it. I've checked all the other ones except for these two, because these two are, that one's screwed way down, so I'm a little bit worried on that one. I'm not seeing any weird wear or anything on there. In fact, there's still some of the black, you know, the black oxide or whatever they call it that they coat cams with on the back of the lobe. So I honestly can't say for sure that I'm seeing anything really wrong. I'm going to go ahead and take this one out because it needs to be replaced. I cannot find that other push rod. So what I'm going to probably do is I'm not going to pull the pan at first. I'm simply going to pull the plug out of the pan and drain it. And then I'm going to take a magnet and I'm going to scoop the magnet. And I'm going to go fishing and see if I can't get that push rod, because fortunately it's near the back. Both of them were near the back. That I find a little bit odd as well. This one's loose right now, which doesn't make a bit of sense because theoretically she shouldn't be. That's about where they should be. Some of these are just too, I don't know. I just don't know. Is the cam worn out? It doesn't look it. The lobes look quite healthy. What I can do is I can get a couple of push rods. I'll order a couple of push rods and put them in, start it with the valve covers off, and see just what's going on in here. It's going to make a mess because Chevrolets are notorious for they squirt out here and it's just going to make a bloody mess. But I don't see a reason why those rocker arms came off or why they're loosening up. I could see if the screw-in studs were pulling out, but they're not. There's just, other than cam wear, there's really no reason for that to have been that loose, you know what I mean? I mean, you guys watched me actually do the adjustment on these, so they shouldn't be that loose. And this is down, usually you're just barely on the stud when that happens. So, I don't know. I just don't know. But, see this, I just don't like that. And see, that lifter's collapsed, see it? So, that's not right either. So maybe the lifters have collapsed, that's a possibility. Like this one, she's not doing anything. So that may be my problem. That lifter, this one's collapsed, I can see it. Well, that one's coming up, so she's under pressure. This one shouldn't be under pressure, and it's not. But I'm wondering if that lifter's collapsed. Doesn't look like it is. Weird. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and pull this one out because she's bent. I'm going to get some push rods. Unfortunately, I don't have Chevy push rods kicking around like I do with the Mopar one, so I'm going to actually have to buy some. But let's get this one out, and I think I'm going to pull this one out and see what this one looks like. She's not bent, but I just don't think that looks good. And then I'm going to go get her up on the lift, and I'm going to go fishing and see if I can't find that push rod. Unbelievable. I wonder if I pull this out, if I can get down in there with a, nope, I ain't getting in there with no magnet. While I've got this apart, and I've explained this to you all way in the past, is I am going to change the whole configuration in the front of this engine. I'm going to go with a short water pump. I'm going to change the position of the alternator. So we're going to do a bunch of work to the front of this as well, so we can go ahead and get started on it. And first, let's pull this off and see what we can find. Because see this one, see that lifter? How that lifter is just pushing in? That lifter is not pumped up. That lifter's pumped up. It doesn't want to go anywhere. That lifter's pumped up. That one's pumped up, I guess. That one's not. That one's collapsed. See, I've got that one all the way down like that too. That might be why. I may be needing a set of lifters. And I'm a little hesitant to put a new set of lifters on an old cam. That one's not going anywhere. Let's see. That one's collapsed. I mean, that one's... Those are good. Those are good. That one's... Ooh. Okay. I might see the problem. If you'll notice, that one's collapsed. That one's collapsed. And these are the two that broke. The rest of these... Oh, that one's collapsed. So, and this one's bent. Alright. We got a little bit of something going on here. This lifter won't pump up. Alright, this lifter bent because it pumped up and this one didn't. Okay? So if you'll notice, all of the lifters that are not pumped up, this one's got a bent push rod, this one's got a broken push rod, and this one's got a missing push rod. And all of those lifters are collapsed. None of these other ones, nope. Nope. None of these, all of the rest of these are pumped up. That is why we've got breakage, carnage, whatever you want to call it. That's why. Why did they collapse? That would be the question. Can I get them to pump up? Or am I going to need... Now that I look at it, that one's way down. That one's way down. That one's way down. That, my friends, would be the problem. My lifters are collapsed. Now, do I replace the lifters? And take a chance of wiping the cam? Decisions. Well, for the sake of time and money, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to order some lifters, and I'm going to order some push rods. Now I've got some lifters that came out of this engine but not off of this cam, and I'm not sure how I feel about putting new lifters on an old cam. Just not. But this lifter is obviously no good. Actually, that lifter is probably good. These two that are, yeah, they are. They're pumped up. They're broken because they pumped up. These are the bad lifters. And the funny thing is, if you'll notice, these, well, no, I guess there's another one. That one's kind of loose, though. So I wonder if maybe that one just pumped up later. So, golly. What to do. Just goes to prove, if you stare at something long enough, you'll eventually figure it out. But that's no coincidence that the lifters that are not pumped up are connected to the ones with busted push rods. So what was happening is these weren't opening the way they're supposed to because the hydraulic lifter. Now I've honestly never seen that before. Never, ever, ever. It's really odd. But she's definitely not straight anymore. And I still have to try to fish that other one out. Now that's a humdinger. It really is. So I need 3 push rods, 3 lifters. I do have roller rockers I've considered using. I'm going to look in that little package and see if maybe I got some push rods, because I do have lifters. They're used, and I'm already at this point, so I don't know, maybe a used lifter will work. So let's see what I got. Found another problem, and I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg on this one, but I was noticing on this one, this is, the stud's backed off. So I'm wondering, wow, okay, oh, nope, that was probably me. Well, I noticed it first, so, but the stud came out instead of the rocker arm, which is unusual. So I don't see any play on this one though. This one's the one that's got the collapsed lifter. So I am going to take a look-see at these. This one I've got to, gonna have to Loctite her back in. I got to straighten this piece out. So we're going to pull this out of here. That's just not good. But actually I was going to take that one out. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's good, okay. But it looks like, I don't know what it looks like. It's weird. It's very weird, I'm not going to lie. Can't really find out any reason why this suddenly decided to have all sorts of weird valve problems. Maybe the cam is wiped. It does not look wiped. The lifters look perfect. There's no roughness on the cam. All I can find is collapsed lifters. Now this lifter is only riding, well, I guess they're all kind of like that. They don't actually center themselves on the lobe, oddly enough. But I'm going to pull this guide plate off. I'm going to go ahead and straighten it out. She's actually torn, so that was pretty catastrophic. And I don't want to leave that rod sitting in the oil pan, so we're going to have to go digging for that. If I can't find that, we're going to have to pull the engine and get the pan off, unless I think I can get the pan off with it in the car, but I doubt it. So that's where we're at. I'm going to go ahead and get this straightened out, and then I think we're going to call it a day, because I'm going to have to order parts. I can pull the water pump off, no big deal if I want to go that route and get that started, get that pulley situation started out there, but I might go ahead and do that, but I'm going to wait, because I'm not going to replace the cam at this point in time. I'm going to try the Band-Aid and do the lifters and the push rods and see where we end up. I'm thinking it shouldn't be that easy to get these loose. They should have been Loctited in. So I'm kind of starting to doubt whoever it is assembled these heads. It was not me. I actually sent them to a machine shop, and I'm not real happy with their work at this point. And I'm not going to reveal who it is. It's a little disappointing. Of course, I know the owner has passed away. In his defense, I'm going to take this push rod, and we're going to have to go ahead and measure it up, and that way I can order some. I suppose I could probably just order, you know, big block Chevy push rods and be okay. I'm going to need at least 4, maybe more. This one's pretty darn straight. So let's go ahead and fix on this and we'll get her back in. I threw some degreaser on these. I've got myself some Lantana Rd, and I've got the guide plate. I went ahead, it had a crack in it, so I went ahead and welded the crack up. And so I've got to say no to crack. I've cleaned everything up with some degreaser. I'm going to put a little shot of Loctite in here. We're going to put everything back together. I'm going to leave the rocker arms off for now. And oh, I gotta go fetch my wrench. Try to make it fast. That fast enough? Now, I don't know if there's a torque spec for these. I usually let the machine shop handle these things. I've usually got my studs put in by a machine shop. So we're just gonna make sure they're tight. I think I'm even gonna get my equalizer and just put a little bit more on it. You all may not think cars are alive, but I beg to differ. Movie Christine, no joke. This car never gave me any troubles. And for about a year, she's been sitting up on the lift over the top of the C3 Corvette. And she pissed every kind of fluid you can think of on that car. And I'm like, what the heck? And then of course I took her out that day and she started messing up, and that just made me park her that much longer. And so I think she just needs attention. I think she's just doing crazy stuff to get attention. So she's getting it. She succeeded. That doesn't seem like the right size. Do I have the metric sockets? I do. What the heck? Oh, I know. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pull the water pump. I'm going to end up pissing fluid all over the place. But it's going to be the finale of today. Not that it's really all that exciting. But at least we found the problem. I've got collapsed lifters, probably from sitting. Folks, your cars sit too long. It is the worst thing. But I've got a bunch of stuff I need to do. I need to put my heater box back together. I need to change the water pump out to a short style water pump. I needed to move the alternator over to this side because on the small block, when the small block was in this car, it was over there. I made it work, and I had this cattywampus situation here. But in reality, I've got all the right stuff. Hopefully now, I bought new pulleys, I bought new brackets, I've got everything that's supposed to make this happen. So at this point, we're going to change the water pump. Well, not change it, we're going to take it off right now in case I end up having to take the cam out in the long run. We're just going to put her right here for now. Gosh, I wish I could find that broken piece of push rod, and I'm not looking forward to going fishing in the oil, but we are going to do what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and pull this lower radiator hose off, which is going to make a mess. And then I'm going to pull the water pump off. And that's pretty much going to be the end of the day. So hang tight. Let me get, never mind, I got one right here. Oh. It's not been a happy day, because I really don't know if, you know, this is going to fix it. I mean, I know what the problem is, and I'm not sure, I'm just not sure putting a band-aid on it, just putting on a few push rods. Oh, golly, that's tight. Putting on a few push rods is going to make that much difference. Or she's just going to lunch it again. You know, we'll see what happens, but I got to go fetch a socket because it's too tight for a screwdriver. So hang tight. Boy, this little girl is angry. I'm trying to take this lower hose off, and she don't want no part of it. It's the hose clamp broke, and it's still tight, so that's wonderful. So we're gonna go ahead and got her turning, but she ain't coming off. So we're gonna do, ow. I haven't drawn blood yet, so that might be an issue. Trying to get the, it's just spinning and spinning. Let's see, might have to get a hammer. Oh, there we go. We're in there now. Let's see if I can get it to, there we go. Brute force never fails. Alright. Now that needed replacing. Yep. Don't you love it when they do that? Alright. Let's see if we can't pry this girl off of here. It's got a pretty good sized kink in it. I'm amazed this thing wasn't overheating, but it never did. I'm gonna maybe have to come up with a better, I think with the new water pump she may come out a little bit, we may have a little bit better hose situation. You know, I'm not drawing blood yet, so I'm thinking that, gosh, it's gonna make a mess. Let me see if I can't get a bucket or something under here. I got a pan, we saved it. Took me a minute to clean everything up, so let's just go ahead and pull this water pump off of here. I don't think that's going to work. Too long. Yep. Why is it you never have the right tool handy? Do you ever wonder that? Now I'm going to show you why this setup isn't right. One, this pulley's like so super close to the frame. Two, to make it match up, I had to do a little bit of redneck engineering. Now it worked for many years. Like I said, if it lasts a long time, it's an invention. But it's a little slippery over here. But if you'll notice, there was these big spacers in there, and that's what was holding this pulley where it needed to go. So needless to say, it wasn't right. Once again, I have burned the daylight hours. It is now dark out, and I'm still here in the shop. Well, that's as far as I can go for today. I need to order some push rods. I did pull one out so I can measure it up. I'll give the parts store a call in the morning, see if I can't get one coming. I do have a set of lifters that are left over. Well, they're not left over. They're actually for my MAD AMX project, which is a small block, big block, small block, same lifter. And they come in little sets of 4. And I need 4, right? 3, 4. I need 3 or 4. So I'm just going to order, I've got time on the Mad AMX project because we haven't even started on it yet. So let's go ahead and get this one going, and then we'll worry about the next project, because the more projects I got rolling in and out of the shop, the better. And I need to start driving these things because this is what happens. And I don't know if I've completely wiped the cam. It looks okay. I do have collapsed lifters, which would cause these problems. So I am going to replace the lifters. I'm going to replace the broken push rods and the bent ones. I'm going to go fishing for that piece. But other than that, that's as far as I'm going today. We'll get some parts. So stay tuned for next weekend, and we'll get done on that. Hopefully we'll get her back up and running next weekend. Keep our fingers crossed. We'll see how well she runs. If she runs, like turd muffins, then obviously the cam is probably wiped. It looks fine though. I'll know better when I start setting it up and turning the engine over. And I'm going to leave everything off the front of the engine when I do that, because it'll be a whole lot easier to work on with nothing on the front of it. Once we get everything back up and going, then we'll go ahead and put the water pump back on and get all that done. And then we'll worry about getting the windows to work. But let's get her back out driving again, because I don't want to fire it up. I don't want to energize the battery with all those wires disconnected out there. So anyhow, that's going to conclude today, this weekend. There should have been another video with this one, but like I told you, it was corrupted. Me, I guess. Human error. Pressed the wrong button. Never claimed to be a genius. Just sorry, Just a regular guy turning wrenches, building hot rods in his backyard. Yep, my shop is rather big for many people. Some people are in a little 1-car, 2-car. Some people, I've got a buddy who doesn't even have a garage, and he's building hot rods. I've collected all of this over many, many years. I'm an old guy, I'm just not a young man anymore. I started out in a no garage, or you could call it, basically it was a chicken coop. Wooden floor, it was a barn, small barn, and that's where I built my first car. It was inside that barn. I had to pull it outside to do any work. I left my cherry picker, same cherry picker. I've had that cherry picker since I was like 18. I've had that, I've left it outside for many, many years. The Ram, I do believe I replaced or rebuilt. I rebuilt the Ram one time over the last 35 years. I got my money's worth, and I think it was like a J.C. Whitney one. I can't even remember, but it was the equivalent of Harbor Freight today. I don't remember exactly what it was. J.C. Whitney, J.C. Penney, Western Auto, something along those lines. I can't remember now. But it wasn't an expensive one. It was the equivalent of your Harbor Freight deal today. But I'll tell you, I actually bought a Harbor Freight, not a Harbor Freight one, but I bought one at a yard sale that was folds up, because that would take up less space, right, if it folds up. But this one's got a 4-inch thick boom. It's got a piece of 4-inch tube steel, whereas all the newer ones got 3-inch. It might be strong enough, but I don't know. I might have to pull the engine out of my diesel someday, and that bugger's heavy. So I figured I'll stick with this one. It takes up more space, but I'm gonna hang with it. So I ended up selling the other one and kept this one. I don't know why I told you that. But anyhow, this is it. You guys, you girls, you all, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this segment a whole lot more than I did, because honestly, kind of breaking my heart. This is one of those cars that started and ran, and I thought I was just going to have to worry about putting the 4-speed swap. I was ready to start driving her, fix the body work, and boof, gone. But now she's having a little fit on me. Could be my problem, might be not my problem. I don't know. I'm going to check all of the studs, make sure none of them loosened up. That one was loose. I don't know if I caused that or not. Not really sure why these loosened up. I've got a hunch that it may be the cam is wiped. But if those were collapsed, that would also explain why some of them were, like, I had to go down a ½ inch, because, well, maybe 3/8 of an inch. That's about how deep the hydraulic lifter is. So if they were collapsed when I adjusted them, they stayed collapsed, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to go ahead and replace those lifters, going to replace those push rods, see if that fixes our problem. Hopefully it does. We'll have this girl back together before long, maybe hopefully this coming weekend. Depends on how the weather is and how much time I get. So life happens, Most of the time I get about 1 day that I get to work on cars. Sometimes I get the whole weekend. It just depends on how things go. Sometimes I don't even get that. So God willing, we'll have a whole weekend to work on this. We'll get her back together hopefully and running. Depends how fast I get the parts too. I'm sure we can get big block push rods pretty quick. That's it. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Don't hurt if you mash on that old like button, and then there's the bell thing, and oh, the share. That was what I couldn't remember. Share button. You go ahead and share it with some friends if you don't mind. If they're Corvette fans or Gremlin fans or Barracuda fans, because that's coming. Mad Max movie fans. If you don't like Mad Max, I don't think you can call yourself a car guy. I mean, that's like all-time best car guy movie, right? It's got everything. It's got the cops and robbers. It's got the sweet cars, right? It's got motorcycles. It's got everything. Well, if you're a car guy, I don't know if you can not like Mad Max, right? 2-lane blacktop. Certain people like that because it's kind of dry, you know. James Taylor's probably not the best actor. Great singer. Not the best actor. Kind of dry. But it's cool because it's cars. American Graffiti. Gotta love it. Fast and Furious. It's tuners, right? But we all watched it. We liked it, right? We all love Vin Diesel and his coolness, if you will. You know, and even because he came out with the Charger, right? It's all about that Charger. And there's always an American car stuck in there with those tuners just to keep us old guys interested, right? So anyway, nonetheless, please subscribe. I'm talking enough. See ya.